morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Ask the Theologian on this Good Friday. Every Friday is a Good Friday, isn't it? And we're glad that you have joined us. The storm has passed, the sun is shining, and we are ready to go. The violet is blooming. Let's see. Try to give you the best view there. There you go. And we're ready to take your biblical, theological, and worldview questions with a smile on our face. And just ready and happy to go. Hope you are doing well here as I update my little chat box here. Got chats left over from last night, and I'm going to have Nathan clean those up while I talk about a few things, like this particular article here, which a friend shared on Facebook the other day, and I have been too busy and haven't really paid attention to, and I got to reading it today. A priest discovered his baptism was invalid. Its ripple effects bring heartache and confusion to the entire church community. Let's look into this just a little bit, but for this program, I think I could safely say that not only for the Catholic Church, but for Protestants and evangelicals, there's an unbelievable misunderstanding about baptism. And the truth is that baptism, if it was to produce anything in you at all whatsoever, including obedience, it's invalid. It doesn't do any of that. At best serves as a means of testimony. And I'm not so sure that you could have a symbolic means of testimony that is invalid. If you are baptizing to be obedient, that's invalid because there's no such command. If you are baptizing to receive salvation, as this guy here is, then that is just so utterly unscriptural that whatever group he's a part of, we would have to call them a non-Christian cult. And he happens to be a part of the Roman Catholic Church. Let's look at this just a little bit here. There he is in his Father Matthew Hood, as he is contemplating and concerned about the fact that he has a fake baptism. Oh my goodness, a fake baptism. I'm going to go to hell. Well, he's at the Cathedral of the Most Blessed Sacrament. And if you believe in sacraments, they better not be fake. Going on. The Archdiocese of Detroit is seeking to contact anyone who may have received invalid sacraments after a priest of the Archdiocese learned his own baptism as an infant 30 years ago was invalid. Yeah, it was, I can tell you that. Just infant baptism in itself is invalid, isn't it? But let's go on. On August 6th, the Vatican's Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith issued a note clarifying that baptisms using an improper formula, namely those using the phrase, "we baptize you," instead of the church's ancient formula, "I baptize you in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit," are not valid. It was determined by the Roman Catholic poobahs that his baptism, which is a sacrament giving him the grace of salvation, was invalid because the deacon who performed the baptism said "we" instead of "I." Now, as petty as that seems, the only good thing I'll say about the Catholics here is, at least in this case, they are consistent. They believe in voodoo, and that you gotta have the incantation exactly right, and that is going to confer upon you from Christ himself the salvation that you so desire, or your parents desire for you as a little baby infant. And so they're consistent with that belief. Now, that's not Christianity. It's not even similar to Christianity. It's not even close to Christianity. It's, ancient Mideastern, cult That's what it is. It's not Christianity. I think we just got to come and start being blunt. I know you don't win friends and influence people when you do that, but we got to start being blunt and say Catholicism isn't Christianity. I don't know what it is. It doesn't even look like Christianity. Now, we continue here, so here's the problem. They had the wrong formula. Father Matthew Hood, associate pastor of the St. Lawrence Parish in, how do you say that, Utica? Contacted the Archdiocese of Detroit after discovering that his own baptism, captured on video in 1990, used improper wording. What if it hadn't been captured on video and he had never known? Woo! Serving all those years as a Catholic priest and not even being saved? Because your baptism was invalid. Because the sacraments of confirmation and holy orders can only be conferred upon validly baptized Catholics. Father Hood was devastated to learn that not only was he not baptized or concerned, but he also was not a validly ordained priest. That, catch this, that was definitely a shock and sadness at finding out 30 years later that I was never baptized. It was an alienating sense that even though I was following the Lord, I wasn't a Christian. I wasn't a priest, I wasn't a deacon. I wasn't a Christian. Why? Because some deacon 30 years ago said we instead of I in a fake baptism of a baby, and the Catholic Church actually teaches that this is how you become a Christian. Once again, if that doesn't make your blood boil, and especially with those like a Russell Moore and others who come together, you know, Catholics and evangelicals together, why in the world would Catholics and evangelicals want to be together? Why would you want to come and praise anything about the Catholic Church other than to say at least they're consistent in their utter paganism? Because that's what it is. It is utter paganism. It is satanic, devilish, leading people away. If you can actually, with a straight face, say that Christianity is conferred upon some little baby as long as the right person uses the right formula, I don't know what you are, but you're not a Christian. I don't know how you can partner with them, how you can praise them, how you can put them in the realm of Christianity. I mean, I think we knew it all along, but this article just proves this is paganism. It's cultish. It is a cult. It's the world's largest cult, as our friend Gene said in a comment this morning. So here he says, I wasn't a Christian. As a consequence of the invalid baptism, Father Hood lacked the ability to confer most of the sacraments since he thought he was ordained in 2017. Archbishop said the parishes where Father Hood has been assigned, the Divine Child of the Dearborn and St. Lawrence and Utica, will be working with the Archdiocese to contact those who sought the sacraments with Father Hood so that each individual circumstance may be examined and rectified. I sure hope nobody died. According to the news release from the Archdiocese, Father Hood's family presented him baptism in 1990, where Deacon Mark Springer was presiding. Deacon Springer attempted to baptize him with the words, "We baptize you," instead of the church's prescribed formula. Now, the church confers salvation. You got to use the church's prescribed formula. Their abracadabra pookity poo, I put a little water right on you, and now you're a Christian. Get the formula right, deacon. Although there had been questions about the altered formula, Vatican's doctrinal note put all confusion to the rest. Now, let me skip through some of this here. And let's see here. Why could they not use we instead of I? We baptize you instead of I. baptize you. Here we go. Though some might be tempted to view the matter as a technicality, the language used in conferring the sacrament is deeply important. Catch this. When someone is baptized, it's not just a symbol or recognition of something that's already happened. It's actually making a change in the person. Okay, that's a Catholic position. That's right. That's sacramental. It actually makes a change. That is, it makes you to be a Christian. That means we have to do it the way the church tells us to do it, he said. We can't use Mountain Dew or milk instead of water, and we can't use other words like I baptize you in the name of the Creator, or we baptize instead of the words the church gives us. Now, here's what I want you to see again. The church uses the phrase I baptize to signify that the person baptizing is standing in the place of Christ. They believe that Peter is the vicar of Christ, and that vicar is replacement for, standing in the place of, and that anyone under the authority of Peter's vicarship is Christ conferring that upon them. They believe they hold the keys to the kingdom, and they believe that the kingdom is Christianity. It is so utterly messed up. Right at its heart. Now, I know that many of you have a Catholic background. I know that some of you maybe are even current Catholics. I know that almost all of you have Catholic friends, neighbors, family. And I know that probably the way I'm talking is not the way to talk around the Thanksgiving dinner table. There's a good place for everything, and that's probably not the place. Or Sunday dinner, right after your dear grandmother comes from Mass, whatever. Be careful about the way you do this, but somewhere we do have to bring our Catholic friends and neighbors, our own Catholic thoughts, to these particular thoughts and say, can this really be? This article, again, here, it's, what is it, from American Magazine. A priest discovered his baptism was invalid. By Michael, I shouldn't have tried to pronounce his name, but it's of the Catholic News Service. This Michael S., let's call him, from the Catholic News Service. So I am assuming that this is not an article that was written by me. As a matter of fact, it's this American Magazine is a Jesuit magazine right here. So this is a Catholic point of view that it's taking, and there it is, blunt, plain as day, as much as you can put it there. So, again, I think we need to find ways to address this with Catholic friends and family, and let's be kind to them. Let's bring them along. Let's reason with them. But our pastor friends who coddle up to Christianity, no reason to be nice. Unless they're buying lunch, and then as soon as they pay, be blunt. Because pastors should know better, teachers should know better, all that. Now, the truth is we could also go into Evangelical Baptism and how many people think they're fulfilling some sort of ordinance of Christ, and therefore they're gaining upon them, a right standing in obedience with Christ, and they're complete in Christ now that they're baptized. And there's just as many problems with that view as well, but that's not what the article is about for us, so I'll leave it at that. But you can check that out in the American Magazine.org. Did I get that right? AmericanMagazine.org. The Jesuit Review. And see about Father, what was his name again? Father Matthew Hood. By the way, I didn't read that part of the article, but you can rest assured he has since received a valid baptism, not using Mountain Dew and using the correct formula, and therefore he is now a Christian, and they're going back with an online form for those who may have received fake sacraments from the not really fatherhood in the past. So there you have it. Isn't life grand? Let's go to our San Antonio friend. And the question is, what is God doing for us today as grace believers? This is a common, I'll say, concern, question, because there is so much when we rightly divide the word of truth. There is so much that we've been taught as evangelicals that begins to go away from us. Things that we, loved and held dearly, and then the right dividing preacher comes and says, well, that one's not for you. And it seems that in right dividing the scriptures, we end up with more things that aren't for us than are for us. And so we begin to sometimes feel a little bit of, I'm not saying this on Manny, but I've experienced it before with a lot of people, and even, in my own journey, we end up with a lot of disappointment over what's ours and what's not. Incidentally, just while I'm thinking of it, just slightly related, our Taos Prophecy Conference, September 25 through 27. One of the things on the schedule you can see here, that Friday night, the first and second session, I have asked Roger and Drew to spend 45 minutes telling us about their journey from evangelicalism to rightly dividing. That'll be 6 p.m. Mountain. It will be online or in person in beautiful Taos, New Mexico. And they are both pastors like I am that have kind of made that journey. So you hit these points of crisis, I guess you would say, where you say, well, I can't claim this, and I gave up that, and that's not for me. And you sort of feel like you're left empty-handed. What have you got? So it's a very valid question. And I would say, again, a very common question to those who make the journey from evangelicalism to rightly dividing the word, where really we didn't even consider ourselves to be name it and claim it kind of people, and we would have denied name it and claim it, but we named it and claimed it. And now all of a sudden we don't have anything to name and claim. So what is God doing for us today as grace believers? We're a little farther behind than I thought we would be, but we're about to come out with this book, The Silence of God, by Sir Robert Anderson, updated for today by Corey Evans. And, that is one of those books about the fact that there is a silence of God, that God is kind of letting things go, that he has given us the Word of God. Now, I want us to consider for just a moment some of the things that we've got going for us. First of all, in terms of the manner by which we are saved, wouldn't you agree with me that all of us would rather be saved in the age of grace than any other dispensation? Let's suppose, for example, after this dispensation, in the dispensation of the last 7 years of the kingdom of the law, or let's call that the future age of the kingdom offer. When that kingdom offer is being given, how are you saved? It's so clear and so oft said that you really can't deny it. Endure to the end and you will be saved. Well, that's a lot more challenging than by grace are you saved through faith, not of works. There's no way to make those compatible, by the way. I know John MacArthur and others want to try to make them compatible, but you can't make them compatible. You just have to divide those out and say there's here salvation under the age of grace, and there salvation in the future as the kingdom is being offered when you endure to the end and you will be saved. And if you do not endure to the end, you are not going to be saved. So what is God doing for us today as grace believers? First of all, He is offering us a clear and easy and wonderful free grace path toward salvation or to receive salvation. Now, most of us, and obviously if you're asking the question today, you've already taken that path. So, okay, what is God doing for us now, today, as believers? He is offering us free access to Him. In that we can, I know this passage is from Hebrews, and I probably should look it up and make sure I'm using it well enough in context, since Hebrews is for the Hebrews and we're not the Hebrews. But I think that you could build the case today to say we have this free access before God, in that now we are invited to come boldly before the throne of grace to find mercy and grace to help in time of need. Now, in the past, you really couldn't just boldly come before the throne of grace. As a matter of fact, Ecclesiastes chapter 5, keep thy foot when thou goest into the house of God, and be more ready to hear than give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. There were always these warnings about going before God. And we don't have warnings, we have invitations to come boldly. Furthermore, prior to this age, you couldn't just march right on up into God's throne room. Rather, you had to bring your offering or your sacrifice. You had to take it to the priest. You had to hope the priest would receive that he would take it on your behalf to the Lord, because there was a priest standing between you and God, kind of like Catholicism. And you had to do, not kind of like, that's what Catholicism is, because it's based upon the Old Testament. So there's another thing that we have going, is this immediate access to God that whether it's Manny in San Antonio or Bob in Minnesota, Austin, Minnesota, or Nicholas in Bolingbrook, or Scott in the hill country of Texas, whatever, wherever it is, Randy in Taos. All of us, we don't have to get our mediator or even get an appointment. We can go before Him. We can, with thanksgiving, let our requests be made known unto God through prayer and supplication. And so we're invited to lay all those things down at His feet. One of the things He's doing for us today is giving us then the peace that passeth all understanding, which I think is one of the greatest promises that we have today, to say, hey, take it, put it at His feet, leave it there. And the blessing of that promise. What is God doing for us today as believers? Another thing that we have an advantage that nobody else had is that we have the completed Word of God. Whereas even in the days of Paul was still receiving revelation. Later, John was going to receive revelation that would finally bring all that to completion, and you and I have it. Therefore, we have that which it would take to, well, I was trying to pull up scripture here and not having much luck here. We have, that which it is needed now, so that in verse 17, the man of God may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. That right there, what's God doing for us today as grace believers? He has thoroughly furnished us, or provided everything that we may be thoroughly furnished to do anything. So, as a good student of the Word of God, rightly dividing the Word, I can take the Word of God and I can know that, hey, guess what? I can make a decision on my own. I can make a decision. I'm thoroughly furnished and equipped to do this. I can carry it out. I can move forward. I can gather the resources I need, all of those kind of good things, and to have the blessing again of being perfect, thoroughly finished unto all good works. Now, I think there's some things we have to take away. What is God doing for us today as grace believers? Is He protecting us from danger and disease? Not necessarily. I'm going to sound a little unspiritual here, but washing your hands will probably help protect you. Don't play in the road will protect you. Be careful who you hang around. Watch where you are when you're there. Be wise as a serpent, gentle as a dove, so to speak. There's a lot of things that are put upon us that in one sense we would say, well, I'd rather have this hedge of protection around me. But honestly, God's never given that to anybody. He's promising it to the 144,000 in the future, but John the Baptist didn't have it, especially when the purpose on earth of John was completed. He got his head chopped off. And so I'm not so sure that's much different than down through the ages past. We have the grace of when we sin, we have the opportunity to do something about it, to change that, get rid of that in our life before, we're struck down from heaven like Ananias and Sapphira. And the blessing that is on our end there. Thank you for your good question there. Bob has a related question. I mentioned enduring to the end. Is that, he says, to the end of the tribulation or the end of your life? I think on this one, I would say whichever comes first. Let's take, in fact, let's just go to Revelation 3 and let's see. Revelation 2 is where I should have started. And surely I can get there. Let me find a good passage that's got that in there. I'm finding all of them except that I do not want. Revelation 2:10, perhaps, is the one I'm looking for. Let's see. Revelation 2:10 comes close. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that you may be tried, and that you shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. And then later on, he that overcometh shall not be hurt of the second death. So I am going to say, endure to the end of your life. Be faithful to the end of your life. For some, and unfortunately very few, but for some, they are going to be able to endure all the way to the tribulation. And I suppose maybe there'll be a special joy in their heart for that. I don't know that there's an extra blessing for that. But the thing that they are to do, I think, is to be faithful unto death. Revelation chapter 2, verse 10. Let's just see quickly if, let's see, down in verse 13, Antipas gives an example through there, and that's only, I see in the chapter 2 and 3. So the overcoming the enemy that is upon you, overcoming the temptations that are upon you, for example, to get the mark of the beast, whatever it may be. I'll go for the end of your life. Then God is going to raise you up from the dead. Speaking of the Jewish people here, He's going to raise them up from the dead. Those who are faithful to the end, the righteous ones would be raised up from the dead at that time, and therefore would be brought into the kingdom. From Bruce in Indiana, Mrs. Harris I understand that you're considered a racist if you mispronounce her name, so I'll go with Ms. Harris, stated that rioting is never going to stop. This is a movement, and she supports it. What's your opinion of this? I did hear a little clip of her saying that, that these people are oppressed and that she supports their expression of oppression. She didn't use those words. She should have. Kind of has a nice ring to it. She supports their expression of oppression, and she therefore, is for the riots that are taking place in Wisconsin, have in Minneapolis and Portland, on and on you can go. Now, that again is a true indicator of Marxism. Marxism has to have an oppressed group of people. And if you're a Marxist, you want to honor the oppressed. And not only does Marxism have to have an oppressed group, but then it wants them to unite. It wants them to come together and, be a part of some kind of movement. So, look at this. I don't know, let's try that one right there. Don't just do something, sit there. Well, I'm not sure what that one's all about. But here's, May 1st, Workers of the World uniting. But that whole Workers of the World unite comes from Marxism, and it says the workers of the world are the oppressed, the Bolsheviks. And so Kamala Harris, excuse me, did I say that right? I don't mean to say it wrong. Ms. Harris, as a Marxist, has to say, I feel the pain of the oppressed. And she has to feed that oppression a little bit. Yes, you are sore oppressed. Things for you are absolutely terrible because the proletariat, like maybe Mr. Biden, who's been in the Senate since 1846 or something like that. Talk about proletariat. Talk about the one percenters. But truth and facts don't have to have anything to do with it. Don't get bogged down by facts. The leftist is completely 100% agenda. Use facts that are useful to you. Deny facts or twist facts or pervert facts or ignore facts that are not useful to you. So Ms. Harris comes out and says, yes, indeed, you are oppressed. Sore oppressed, more oppressed, I suppose, than anybody who's ever been oppressed. And I feel for you. And I fight with you. And I understand why you come out and you express your oppression. And you are trying to overcome, just like our comrades in 1917. I think she's a Marxist, communist, socialist, whatever you want to call her. And so the rioting is not going to stop. They don't want it to stop. They're paying for it. They're smart enough to fuel the money here, there, and other places. But, the trucks are coming in with the war materiel, and pretty clear that somebody is paying for all that kind of stuff, and somebody is instigating, and somebody is putting out. I noticed what I suspect to be, even in my own town, about 2 blocks from here, there was some new Black Lives Matter sign at the post. This is a light post they've decorated up as the Black Lives Matter shrine. They're sending some more people in from the university somewhere to come stand there like dumb idiots and try to stir up a little, because you take a liberal town and there's lots of bleeding hearts, soft hearts, and they go along, everybody oppressed. I mean, the biggest organization in town is the Save the Dogs group. Any poor little puppy, and so you create a society of poor little puppies, and man, the leftists will come out and they'll support. They checked their brain a long time ago. Maybe they smoked it away in the '60s, and so man, they're man, workers of the world unite! Oh, come take my house, come take my country, come take my. They're just so utterly stupid, those who will come in. But you put 2 or 3 instigators there, look so innocent. They're paid rioters from out of town. Put them there. Some dope head from the 60s will come and go right along with them. And before long, you got a whole bunch of people there, and then you get news. That's what you want. This is the way it happens. So the riots aren't going to stop because the funding's not going to stop. The funding's not going to stop because people keep giving to the Democratic Party. And George Soros got a lot more behind that as well. So Ms. Harris, she spoke the truth. It's not going to stop. It's a movement, and she supports it. And she does. And, I suppose it'll stop if they get elected, the rioting, that is. And then they will just start taking from the haves and giving to the have-nots, because that's justice, social justice, not justice. And so they'll start doing that, and that creates a whole society of little piglets that come up to get the nipple, the government nipple, and suck, and they'll never vote the Democrats out of their wealthy positions and prestigious positions, like 972-year-old Nancy Pelosi. She never get voted out because she keeps she keeps giving them. Give. So that's my opinion of all of that. Am I right? Am I wrong? I'll tell you later, but history proves that. Again, that'll go until finally, like in Venezuela, when there's nothing left to take and give to someone, and they have so totally, by their utterly stupid policies, which is what Joe Biden and Ms. Harris got, just utterly stupid policies that will lead to bankruptcy and to no production and to nothing there. And then you got nothing, and then eventually there will be an uprising to turn that over and to come. But that takes a long time. Look how long it's been in Venezuela. They just sit there and suffer. The good people move out. The poor people just saying, please give us some more milk, give us some more milk, give us some more milk. And what our society needs is someone to kick them out. And that's what Venezuela needs. But it took 70 years for that to happen in the Soviet Union. And bringing all of that about. Stephen has a question that says, do you still agree with your prayer on page 47 of your book, The Faith of Benjamin Franklin? Probably not, because I wrote that book quite a few years ago. Here's the challenge. I don't have any more copies of the book. And the only way I can get more copies of my book is to order it from Amazon. And I'm too cheap. I should check that out. I tell you what, Stephen, bring a copy or take a picture and send it to me of page 47. Let me see what I said on there. My guess is I would word it different. I don't even know what it says, but my guess is that I would word that a little differently. Who knows? Let's go to Tony in Nebraska. I got a paper of yours sitting on my desk, by the way, that because I've been preparing for Branson, I haven't read yet, but it's sitting ready to go. Tony says, have you ever looked into the similarities between Marduk and Nimrod as their names are spelled closely in Hebrew? I think, yes, I have. I've forgotten the details to it, but I think that I'm going to, you'll give me some leeway here to say I'm going to get this answer in the neighborhood of right. How's that? In the neighborhood of right, okay? I think what we've got here is that Nimrod is the original, let's call him the original manifestation of the Antichrist. If indeed the Antichrist is Satan in the flesh, like Jesus is God in the flesh, then Nimrod is, let's see, if Melchizedek is a Christophany, then Nimrod is an anti-Christophany. Does that make sense? And maybe this Nimrod has, in different manifestations of Satan in the flesh, manifested himself in the scriptures in a number of ways. So all of that is a bit of speculation, maybe way too much speculation. But certainly I think we would say Nimrod is a type of the Antichrist, foreshadow of the Antichrist. From there, Marduk is created as the again, later that's the name that we use here, but created as the god and begins to be worshipped, and I think even later seen in Nebuchadnezzar. Let's look at a couple of things here. First of all, let's look at Marduk in Wikipedia. Let's just, here's this picture of a Marduk relief right there. And from Babylon, from that whole era there. But let's see, I got, well, somehow I have managed to pick up some other language in my Wikipedia. How about that? But there's some pictures of Marduk. So you take this Marduk. Now, look right there. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, Marduk as Nebuchadnezzar. He made this statue unto himself. Nebuchadnezzar worship was probably Marduk worship. And that goes into Revelation chapter 13, where they make an image of the Antichrist. Marduk, Nimrod, the tying together there and the tying that into Nebuchadnezzar and the tying that into the Antichrist. I think there's a lot of connections there that would be very interesting to see some work done on that and pull that together. Names are closely spelled in Hebrew. I suppose that you are exactly right. And let me see here if I can do a quick search here. There's another one in addition to Marduk, but let's see if we can bring this. Well, here's what I'm trying to do, and it's so small that I don't even think I can even get it up to where you can see it. No, it doesn't enlarge the part I need it to do. here is the word Marduk, which seems to be a Merodach. Let's try that. This is Jeremiah. Publish and conceal not. Say, Babylon is taken. Bel is confounded. Merodach, which is that Hebrew word Marduk, is broken in pieces. Babylon and Marduk, Babylon, founded by Nimrod, very much go together. Second Kings, at that time, Merodach, Baladan, Merodach, okay, comes from that same word. King of Babylon sent letters. So, yeah, I think there's a little bit, I think it's definitely, there's a connection there. How they are connected, I would have to do some study on. If you got some study on it, I would love to take that and look at that. Okay, let's see what we've got here today coming up. And do you foresee, Renee asks, I just lost my question. Do you foresee an end to COVID and the isolation? How can we avoid fear and depression during this difficult time? I don't foresee an end to COVID. If it is actually, and I presume that it is, I'm gonna make that assumption in this question. If COVID is legitimately a virus that you can look at under a microscope, I don't suppose that it'll go away. I know totally we'll learn how to deal with it, how to handle it, you know, what you should do and all that kind of thing, which in and of itself takes away the fear. When you know how to deal with something, you know, we're not afraid of the cold virus. I don't want to get one, rhinovirus, I believe it's called. We're not afraid of that. It doesn't go away. We don't seem to be trying to get to go away, all those kind of things. The influenza, the various viruses there, they don't go away. So I doubt the coronavirus and the disease that comes with this one, COVID-19, I doubt that's going to go away. I do think we'll get to know more about it and we'll be comfortable. And probably, I'm not a FDR fan, but his words would have been good last March. We have nothing to fear except fear itself. And boy, did we fear itself. Now, I have, by the way, known a number of people that have gotten, or their family members have gotten, or their friends, or their brother, or their mother, or whatever, have gotten coronavirus. Completely to this point, everyone who has gotten it tested positive for it, and after the positive test, they were told to do nothing other than go home. You know, just go home, take care of yourself like you would if it was a cold. Stay away from other people so you don't give it to them. But we don't give you any medicine for it. We don't give you any treatment for it. We don't give you a bozo button, a pin that says, I got coronavirus. You don't get anything other than 2 weeks off work. That seemed to be true from the very beginning. This was one of my issues about it, is when I was reading about it, 98% of people who get it are just perfectly fine. Some of them, a huge majority of that 98%, don't even know they ever got it. Well, that's pretty good odds, is what I'm saying. Now, I realize, I don't want to be insensitive here, I realize there is a portion of the population for whom, of course, it can be deadly, and it is deadly. Let's just be honest there and say that's true for the rhinovirus that can lead a susceptible person to get a bad cold, that can lead them to pneumonia, that can lead them to death. The flu, all those kind of things. So that portion of the population is at risk of not just coronavirus, they're at risk of a lot of things. So I think that America is going to come to its senses one of these days, probably after the election, and say, we got scared. We probably got too scared. We probably overreacted. This is a virus. It's a legitimate virus. It's a new virus the Chinese brought upon us, probably because they were doing chemical warfare campaigns, and it got out of the bag before they planned on it too. And the Chinese ought to be punished on it. And now we're going to have to deal with this thing from now and forevermore. But we know how to deal with this thing. And I don't know why you'd want a vaccine for it, honestly. Something that has so little effect on the vast numbers of population, rather than vaccinate for it, because I think you're going to end up with so many more peripheral problems with the vaccination. Rather than vaccinate for it, just learn how to treat it. For the 2% of the people, and that's a very high number, the 2% of the people that it's going to affect badly, learn what to do to treat them for it when they get it. Now, so is it going to end? No. Are we going to learn how to deal with it? Yes. We are going to learn how to deal with it. Now, I'm not a doctor there. Maybe they've got all the answers and all that kind of stuff, but I question the assumptions, and always have and always will. How can we avoid fear and depression during this difficult time? I think that, first of all, some people are more susceptible to fear and depression. And everybody has to kind of determine, am I one that is, do I get afraid easily? I guess I'm blessed in that I'm not one that gets afraid very easily. There's some things I should have been afraid of and I wasn't afraid of. And there's a few things I'm afraid of that I probably shouldn't be afraid of. But nonetheless, I know where my areas of fear are and all that kind of stuff. But fear and depression is not something that I have to deal with very much. I think I don't know, we're all made differently, and I think we're wired differently, and we have different experiences, and we have maybe different chemicals that are going through us and all that kind of stuff. So if you're one that has to deal with fear and depression, here's my advice, and maybe some therapist or someone who disagrees with me might say something more Stephen Green's on. He knows a little bit about all of this. Maybe he can give an amen or an oh me. But my advice for someone who is beset with fears, and that fear and depression typically come together. So if you're one of those persons, find someone in your life that's not. And then just say to them, let me be honest. And hopefully they're a person that's close to you, but if not, pick the best you can. So you say to that person, you go and say, let me be honest with you. I get afraid and I become depressed when I get afraid, and I seem to get afraid a lot more than you get afraid, and you seem to be making it along just as well as I'm making it along, and here I'm worrying about all these things. So can I just give my fear to you? And what I mean by that is, can I trust you to tell me when I should be afraid? And if you don't tell me to be afraid, then I'm just going to grow African violets. And I'm going to enjoy them. I'm going to do purple, and I'm going to try to get a yellow, and I'm going to try to get a blue one. And I'm just going to try to enjoy my life. I might call you, some evening and say, I'm afraid. Do I need to be? I saw this news article, or I read this, or I heard that. Do I need to be afraid? I'm kind of wanting to be afraid here. And then he or she will listen to you, and they'll look at it, and they'll give their honest opinion. And many times they'll come back and say, no, you don't need to be afraid on that. Trust me on this one. This one's okay. You're allowing that to hold you down. Go back to the African violets and have a great evening. And then learn to trust that person. Because I don't think I may be wrong here. I don't think you can train yourself not to be afraid anymore. I think you're just wired to be afraid. So train yourself to trust a person who's not wired that way. Now, don't choose someone who's gotten themselves in trouble because they have no fear. Don't choose someone who drives 702 miles an hour down the school zone because they have no fear. That's not the person you want. But you do want the person who has a very balanced life and is able to say, you know what, I know when to be afraid, when not to be afraid, and I hadn't got arrested, and I haven't got sick, and I haven't gotten killed yet. Things are going pretty good. Find that person and learn to trust them. You can probably learn to trust them quicker than you can rewire your whole psyche. So again, what I'm saying is put yourself under that umbrella and let that go there. I appreciate that. I don't know how long it'll be, but I think we will have some better days out there. And I might change my mind after the election, but we'll see. Shirley has a question in which she forgot to use the word question, but we caught it, Shirley. Do you believe those who practice TM, transcendental meditation, yoga, UFO followers, are getting messages from demons because they all get the same message? Utopia on earth, all paths lead to God. Maybe, but I don't even think you have to go there. I am not necessarily opposed to their getting messages from demons. Let's say it this way, if they're actually getting messages, then I think they're getting them from demons. But I'm not sure they're actually even getting messages. I think, and again, I'm no expert on this, just as more observation, but I think the power of suggestion is one of the most powerful powers, if that's a good way to say that, in all of human existence. So, let me use an example. People have near-death experiences. And when they have near-death experiences, they feel a warm sensation, and they see a light, and they see loved ones, and they see someone calling them together. That is almost exclusively what happens in a near-death experience. Now, that happens to Christians, that happens to non-Christians, that happens to Hindus, it happens to Muslims, it happens to Jews, it happens to Christians, it happens to atheists. These near-death experiences, that's what they feel. Is that actually what they experience? I would go to say that even from a 2 or 3 year old child, you're fed enough information that this is the expectation of the afterlife, that if you have such an experience, the power of suggestion tells you in a way that is so real that you're convinced it happened in time and space, and you accept that. Now, I think that there is almost created into our spiritual wiring itself, and Solomon in Ecclesiastes gets close to saying this, there is that looking forward to this utopia on earth and all of the nations coming to God. That is so much in our collective thinking because it comes from the scripture, and the teaching was even pre-Moses, even before it was written. In fact, I would argue that it's even written in the sky above us. That is so much there that, again, basically all the civilizations are going to come there, and that is a little bit, if you get into transcendental meditation and yoga and you're a UFO follower, you're kind of wanting and looking for that anyway. You're not looking, if you get into transcendental meditation, yoga, and UFO following, you're not really looking for, a recipe for the best biscuit. And so I'm going to spend some yoga and see if I can determine the best biscuit. Nobody does that. They go into yoga, transcendental meditation, to free themselves from this world and connect with the better world. So they're already inviting that. And sometimes we get what we look for. So let me restate that again. If they're getting messages, they're from demons. But I think it might just be the power of suggestion, and this is why they're getting it. And I don't think there's really anything to, well, the people in Denmark have the same kind of visions as the yoga people in Taos who are doing goat yoga in the heat. Why would you do goat yoga anyway? I don't get it. But I'm not opposed to raising goats and African violets. Just don't raise them together. But the Taos goat yoga guru and the Denmark transcendental meditation guru, they're all longing for a cleansing of the earth and an ushering in of a new age. The age of Aquarius, right? So written in society, humanity, that the power of suggestion is what is bringing them to that, is the way I would put that today. I think I got all of our questions today, and only spent 5 minutes overtime, didn't I? I look forward to seeing you. I had even this morning, by the way, registration for Branson. That's a week from today. Week from tonight, we're going to be gathered in the Table Rock Ballroom of the Radisson Hotel. For those who can come on Friday night, have just a little fellowship. Put out some pretzels and some peanuts and have some fellowship and get to know each other. And then Saturday, we'll start our work through the Psalms. We'll have a great time doing so. I look forward to seeing many of you there. We will be back Monday for Ask the Theologian. And I'll see you there. We'll be back Sunday, as a matter of fact, for the book of Acts and for the book of Revelation. And we'll have hopefully a insightful time in all of that. But if you haven't signed up for the register for the Branson, you can. And let me say also, had 2 new students yesterday at the John Nelson Darby Academy. And it's not too late for that. That is jndarbyacademy.org. And you can find the information about that, and there's the enrollment information and all the things that you need to see, and you can then even click enrollment right there. We'd love to get your 3rd through 12th grader signed up for the John Nelson Darby Academy. And with all that, it's time to go. I hope that you'll question the assumptions as you go today, even my assumptions. Make sure they're right according to the Word. Look forward to seeing you again soon. God bless you.